Cassie has a friend that says sleepovers, no matter who they are, girls, boys, whatever, should never happen at all.
No, she's saying she will never, ever let her child sleep over at anyone's house. Doesn't matter if it's a boy friend or a friend that's a girl. And at first I was kind of taken aback because sleepovers were such a big part of my childhood. And I have so many fond memories of spending the night at my best friend Lindsay and Lauren's house. And I was like, no, it's not going to be the same for me. My kids are totally going to have sleepovers. Like, it's a rite of passage. And then she explained why. And she showed me a few videos of other moms talking about why. And then some experiences of kids. And I was like, all right, I'm on board. My kids will never be sleeping over at another person's house.
What?
They can come to my house. They will never go. And because unfortunately, you never truly know who is going to be let into the house or the people in those houses. Now, obviously, if you grew up with someone from like day one, they're your BFF and you know them and y'all have kids the same age, that's different. The whole point is you have to protect your kids. And there are reports of kids, and this is adult content, so if you have kids listening, you may want to just sort of turn the radio down, but kids being molested by adult figures in the homes or adult brothers and or adult men, adult women. It's not just men. And so people are not letting their kids sleep over at anyone's house because even if you trust the parents, you don't know anyone else who's going to come in. Some person had an uncle come in and take advantage of them. Someone else had someone's older brother shut them in a bathroom and try and take advantage of them at a big group sleepover. And because of this, my friend is like, never again. And she told me all of this. And I was like, you know what? I had never thought of it that way. At first, I thought it was the wussification of sleepovers, but now we just live in a different world, and I think I'm on board, and I think I'm going to have that conversation with my kids one day that they are not allowed to sleep over at anyone's house.
Really? Yeah, you and I tend to approach life very differently in this area. You're very, I'd say very protective. I tend to think that if you hear two of these stories or three of these stories, then we start to make a blanket statement that we should really be freaked out by these situations. And while they can occur, certainly, the percentage of it happening is so small that I would never preclude. I mean, I know all of Hollis's parents, friends' parents. I would just never even think that I would never stop them from spending the night at somebody else's house.
I mean, we can never really know the percentage.
No.
Like, because a lot of people don't come forward with that information. They keep it secret forever. That something like that happened to them at a sleepover by so-and-so's brother way back when. Most people don't talk about that.
I guess it's the kind of thing where you can't 1,000% protect your children 24/7 from all the harms that are going on in the world.
Yeah, I'm trying to sit here and think, like, if you do your due diligence, because I'm like you, Cassie. Sleepovers were a huge part of my childhood. Like, I remember Michelle and Amanda sleeping over at my house. I remember spending the night over at Michelle's and spending the night over at Amanda's.
Shoot, my parents were begging me to spend the night at other people's houses. Get out of the house.
So I feel like if you, and I mean, these are people I grew up with and our families knew each other well. That if you do your due diligence and you know the family well, yeah, I would want to believe that I would let Jimmy have a sleepover.
And I think the thing is, the kids can always come to my house. So there will be sleepovers. They're welcome to come to my house and sleep over and spend the night here, and I'll stay up and make sure everyone's okay and everything. But it's just the one-off chance, and it's not a risk I'm willing to take. And I think that we never truly, unless you really do know someone from childhood or for years and years and years, you never truly know anyone, because no one's going to come forward and be like, oh, I like this in my free time, and you weirdo. No one's going to admit that. So they're going to keep that under wraps as much as possible. And I've just seen enough things pop up with headlines and people who I thought were solid people turning out to be sketchopotamuses, and I'm not taking that risk with my kid.
But how much can you protect? I mean, I know a family whose daughter was in first grade, whose teacher took advantage of that situation over and over and over again, and they found out later. That would never stop me because of that one instance. That would never stop me from sending my kid to first grade or homeschooling them.
That's different, though. So education it's required, first of all, by the government. And of course, I want my child to be educated. That's something you have to do. A sleepover is not a necessity.
Your kids don't have to go to school. You can homeschool them if you want to keep them away from, I mean, if that freaked me out so much, I could say, look, we're just going to teach you here at home.
I am curious how that conversation would go, just because, like, so you say, kids can sleep over at your house, but what if there is another mom that feels the same way about you?
Mm-hmm.
Or, for instance, if, like, you have a kid sleeping over at your house, and then the mom's like, okay, well, they can spend the night over at my house, and are you going to be like, how do you just going to tell her no?
Yeah, I'll just be like, as a family, we have a rule. We don't do sleepovers at other people's houses. It's nothing personal. It's just a blanket statement. Your child's welcome to sleep over at my house, and I totally understand if you feel the same way.
Yeah, Hollis has some friends that are like this.
Really?
Yeah, parents just, no, I'll come pick you up at 10 or 11 o'clock, but just no sleepovers. Hey, Hannah, good morning. You're on the Bert Show.
Hi. So I was just going to say I agree with Cassie. Basically, to make a long story short, some of my friends, my parents were relatively close to them. And so I'm 20 now. Come to find out that their parents were actually taking advantage, the father taking advantage of the girls. Luckily, my dad never felt comfortable with us ever spending the night there. It was just that one parent and their kids. But, yeah, it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I remember
it's awful.
fighting it.
You guys are really making me regret having a child. And I don't appreciate it.
It's really infuriating when you turn your kids over to other adult figures.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Which is the most precious thing in your life, right? Obviously, when that responsibility is betrayed, there is nothing worse than that. Zero worse than that.
The Bert Show.